Thank you, John. And good morning to everybody. So we are going to have about 160 folks that are going to be here eventually. We're all commuting from all over the Bay Area, from down as far as San Jose and beyond, and Sonoma County and beyond, and well in the East Bay. So this truly is about a regional issue, but it's more than that. It's about a state issue as well, and we'll get into that. Actually, before I get into my opening remarks here, I wonder if we can go back to the first slide we had up there, because I would like to acknowledge the sponsors who have helped us not only with this particular workshop, but the entire workshop series and then the entire coalition. In particular, CH2M Hill, who is the summit sponsor for us. Vijay Kumar from CH2M Hill, thank you very much for putting CH here. We'll see Vijay in just a little bit, but also Arcadis, Chevron, Dutra, Environ, Manson, PG&E, WISPA, and then all the other supporters that you see down there. Just want to remind everybody that this is a coalition of a number of different parties. We all have interests, we all have competitive interests as well. But we all work together in our business and our environment and our economy when we come together like this. And our whole goal here is to be educational and provide you with tools that will help you going on. And actually, I already heard some new things from John earlier about some of the developments in Sacramento yesterday. So that's very important. I'd also like to thank Ariel. I see her back there up in the booth, Ariel Stevens with BPC, for helping to administer our program today. Okay, let's go on to our first opening remarks. What I'd like to do with this particular first topic is, have you noticed my tie? Okay, the reason I do that is that, well, this is a California-centric meeting in many respects. And forget the fact that I'm a geologist and I think kind of some strange, nerdy things like ties showing the San Andreas Fault are interesting. But I did want to at least start off with a little bit of lightness and then a little bit of history as we move into this topic about energy and water. Because I think we all take for granted a lot of things in our life. We take for granted the fact that life is complicated. We're a complicated organism. We have a complicated society. We breathe, we eat, we drink. We kind of take that for granted. And we need power to run these lights, to run this aquarium, to get us to where we need to be. And the public takes it for granted in many respects. So when we have very complicated issues that we need to either vote on or consider from a financial perspective, such as the water bond that you'll hear about later, it's very difficult to take a complex subject and boil it down into something that the public and all of us can relate to. So I want to start with a little bit of that lightness, and then we'll get into our panels who will talk about a little bit more of the detail. So if we can move to our first slide, please. So, history lesson. No, you won't be quizzed. No, if you get the answer wrong, we'll still, your parking ticket will still be good. But I wanted to start off with a little bit about just California in general. So there are a number of theories as to how California got named in the first place. One of the more interesting ones is California being seen as a earthly paradise. Back in a piece of literature in the early 1500s, named after an Amazon-like queen. Interesting history right there. There are some other theories as well, but I thought this was a pretty good one. Because right away, this notion of the paradise of California, now, 500 years ago, already started. And so in literature, well-read, European, the Spanish, as they started to move over, had this idea of this island paradise. And so even though some of the first explorers ended up in Baja California, and so we had this island look, and then Alta California came in after that in the maps, we had this idea of the Queen Califia, if you will, this earthly paradise of California, ruled by the Amazon-like queen. And it's really an interesting story if you want to look at it. You can go to the Mark Hopkins Hotel and you can see a mural there of what the queen purportedly looked like. And over the next several hundred years, the development of California and the conflict between the native individuals who were already here, the indigenous individuals, the Spanish and the other Europeans coming in, and this conflict and how we make the society work in the state. To the point of 1850, after the gold rush, where the population of California approximately, just according to the census at that time, was about 100,000. When you look at a map like this, though, you will notice that a lot of the name places that we know today, San Francisco, Point Reyes, et cetera, were on here. But it's a very short drive to Houston, apparently. Next slide, please. So over the next 150 years or so, we saw this boom of California. And we saw this boom in leadership and innovation. Now, certainly that's a lot more simple than actually what was happening. We're not talking about the wars between North and South in terms of water. Some of you might remember John Briscoe of BPC giving the story about how the state was nearly torn apart within the first few years. And you can go back to the archives of the state because of water and the North and South conflict. But we do know that California, through whatever earthly paradise we created here, whether it's the environment, the air, the history, the water, the fact that weather is generally calm, we can get things done, even though there's not a lot of water, the innovation really took off from a business perspective, from an environment perspective. And this incredible growth from 100,000 or so in 1850 to last year, or in 2010, the last sentence, which put us at above 38 million, is incredible. As John mentioned, 12th GDP, or actually the Bay Area 17th GDP if it were its own country. California 11th or 12th, often in the top 10. Just incredible innovation. But how did this happen? And that's what the curious thing is, and that's what we're going to get into today. Next, please. Next slide. One thing about California we all know is that we are living in not only an extremely large state geographically, but an extremely complex state with regards to where the people live and where the water is, right? That's what we're going to be talking about today. We know it mostly rains in the north. We move water from north to south primarily. The population centers are primarily along the coast, primarily in the San Francisco area, Southern California, Los Angeles area, somewhat in Sacramento. But generally speaking, where we have the most people, we have the fewest resources. So an entire community had to be developed that actually could move the resources to where it needed to be. This continues to be an issue for us today. And again, I think it's one of the more difficult issues for the public and the electorate to understand. I do want to thank Dr. Jay Lund at UC Davis, one of the experts in this area. He frequently talks about this for providing this slide. Next slide, please. So one of the things we had to do in a number of very innovative and creative ways, interesting, of course, we all know, at a time where some of the regulations for doing this were not as evolved as they are today. So could we have built what we have on the map between our water system and our energy system today if we were just starting from ground zero? That's unknown. Nonetheless, the aspects of water and power mirror each other incredibly. We see that we have to have an incredible, complex power grid because we have to move the power where we don't have any to the population centers and the business centers. And we have to move our water from places where it is to where it isn't in order to create this growth. Now, some might say if we were planning from day one, would we have done this? We don't know. We can't say that. But the point is this is where we are today. And the point is to move forward and not look backwards as to what we should have done then. It's about moving forward today. And this whole aspect of power and water together, I think is something that is gaining a little bit more airtime in the media. Some of you might remember, I guess it was a few months ago, KQED actually ran a week-long series on power and water and how they kind of interact. The state of California has commissioned a number of, and I'll have a couple of these references up here, a number of different studies. The Schwarzenegger administration in 2005 had a study. There have been several since then as well that are looking at power and water. And now we even have, there's a website available where you can look at county by, or actually hydrologic unit by unit within the state of California to predict how much power might come out of the water resources that are available. Pretty interesting look at that right now as well. Next slide, please. The other thing we have to remember is that how we are today may not be how we are tomorrow. And how we are today was definitely not how we are in the past. And I bring up this, I'll call it historical hydrologic couple of maps. One, because again, I'm a geologist. I think it's pretty cool to know that the southeast deserts of California were once tropical paradise, massive lakes, beautiful lakes. We had the glacial system within the Sierra, the snow-capped peaks continually, not like today where you can't see anything up at 10,000 feet. Glaciers that created these vast valleys, which we now have utilized for our water resources in many respects. But the point is that things are also changing today. The cause is less important than the fact, okay, I may get some criticism, but right now, just bear with me. The cause of the change is less important right now than the fact that change occurs. And because change is occurring, we have to be prepared for what that change may be. It's still fairly slow. We still have time to be thinking about this, but the point is that we have to be prepared for conditions where, in fact, we may not have water where it was before. We may have to have some additional creative engineering and other policy issues to allow us to continue to be prosperous. And the point about being prosperous with our water resources and our power resources is not just about making money. It's about continuing the way of life that we would like to have. And that is a positive environment, a positive economy. They are together. They're together things. When we separate them, I think we do ourselves a disservice. Today we're going to talk about how they work together. That's really the message, and I think that's also the message of Bay Planning, of how we continue to go forward. Anyway, take a field trip to some of these areas. It's pretty interesting. When you fly from San Francisco to somewhere in the midsection of the country or the East Coast, and you're sitting on the north side of the airplane, and you see somebody with the window open, which is probably somebody like me who's looking outside, even though you might want to sleep or something like that, you notice something like Mono Lake. And I bring that up because at Mono Lake, incredibly, you see all these concentric rings around that lake. Now, it's not just because Los Angeles has kind of taken some of the resources. That's not it. It's about the past. It's about showing that our environmental conditions were much different in the past. That's an indication that they will be different in the future. So planning about this is really important. Next, please. California and the Bay Area and some of our guests today that will be speaking are truly leaders in assessing how water and power, water and energy work together. This particular simple diagram that you can find on the energy.ca.gov website and this document I alluded to from 2005 kind of gives you an indication that we don't take this lightly. And what's important is that we, as practitioners, as scientists, as the public, as regulators, we need to continue to communicate to the public that we are taking this serious. We're taking it seriously. It's not that we're just all of a sudden, let's have a vote on something. It's about there's a lot of detailed scientific, technical, and policy analysis that has been going on for years. And I think we don't get that respect. I'm up here to say, okay, the guy with the fault tie would like us all to have some more respect as far as thinking about this. All right, important. Next, please. One of the things we'll hear about today also is how much water, how much power go into our various economic pistons within the state of California. This is just one simple breakdown that you can find from the Energy Commission, California Energy Commission. But you'll notice that what's interesting, and you see this often, is that that middle bullet, kind of the residential commercial, is really one of the biggest users of water and power. Ag and industry and others certainly use a lot because they're massive. But the fact is that the industry is not the biggest user in many respects, but we still are a consumer-based economy. And so all this really works together. I think this is really important in terms of policy as well. Next, please. And then you'll see things like this as far as the innovation that is taking place. This particular diagram, and I'll give you a website there from California PUC, as far as new tools. Some are somewhat pilot, some are experimental, some are in kind of the development stage of trying to understand a little bit more the balance of how water and power work together. I'm not going to give you stats here. You'll hear plenty of that during the morning and afternoon as far as how much power it takes to move a pound of water, so to speak, something like that. Water is heavy. It takes a lot. But then the innovation of using gravity-fed systems, which we see in both Northern and Southern California, are really ingenious if you think about that. We'll hear more about that later. Next, please. And then finally, we will hear about this. John already alluded to SFPUC and some of the things that we've heard about a lot in the media lately. Because of the rim fire, Hetch Hetchy, for example, has been in the news quite a bit. We've also had ballot measures of trying to remove this type of system. But the point of looking at the innovation and creativity and I think tremendous engineering to think about trying to have a sustained power and water resource for a major metropolitan area, San Francisco Bay Area in Northern California, that fuels the prosperity of California using a gravity-fed system. I mean, that is that's the definition of sustainability, if you think about that, right? So these are the types of things that we take from what we've learned and we move forward and we have discussions like we're going to have today as far as not just let's all feel good about it, but also some of the conflicts and the challenges. That's the whole point here.